Warren Buffett is one of the most well-known and respected names in the world of finance. He's often referred to as the Oracle of Omaha, due to his ability to make incredible investment decisions. Over his lifetime, he's built an empire through his company, Berkshire Hathaway, and has become a symbol of success and wisdom in the business world. People admire his simple lifestyle despite his immense wealth, and he is often seen as a mentor to many aspiring investors. But behind his public image, Warren Buffett is also known for being part of some of the most exclusive circles in the world. One such place is a VIP club that only admits a select few, the wealthiest, most influential people in society. This club is a symbol of success, a place where the most powerful and wealthy individuals gather to network, share ideas, and enjoy a luxurious lifestyle. Being a member of this club isn't just about wealth. It's about being seen as a leader, someone who's earned respect in the world of business and beyond. But what happens when someone as powerful as Warren Buffett is kicked out of such an exclusive place? The story that follows is truly unbelievable. It was an ordinary evening at the VIP club. The air was filled with the chatter of wealthy individuals discussing business deals, investments, and world events. The atmosphere was luxurious, with soft lighting and the hum of quiet conversations. Warren Buffett, as usual, was seated in a corner, a glass of water in front of him. He wasn't one for flashy displays or attention, preferring to stay in the background while observing others. But then, something unexpected happened. An argument broke out between a few of the club's prominent members. The disagreement escalated quickly, with tempers flaring and voices rising. Buffett, who usually avoided confrontation, found himself reluctantly dragged into the conversation. The issue at hand was a difference of opinion regarding a recent investment decision made by some of the members. Buffett, being someone who has seen countless financial markets rise and fall, couldn't hold back his thoughts. His calm but firm response didn't sit well with everyone in the room. A few members, particularly the younger ones who were new to the club, seemed offended by his blunt honesty. They saw his opinions as a challenge to their own expertise. The argument grew heated, and suddenly, one of the senior members stood up, pointing a finger at Buffett. The words that followed were sharp and cutting. "You're no longer welcome here." The shock was palpable. Buffett, known for his tact and measured responses, was stunned. He didn't react with anger or frustration, but there was an undeniable disbelief in his eyes. He calmly stood up, gathered his things, and left the club. No one expected this to happen, and whispers began to spread among the remaining members. The moment Warren Buffett left the club, the room fell into a stunned silence. It was almost as if time had stopped. The air that had been filled with laughter and conversation just moments before now seemed thick with tension. People looked around at each other, unsure of how to react. Was this really happening? Warren Buffett, kicked out of a VIP club he had been a part of for years? It felt surreal. The members who had been part of the argument stood in awkward silence, unsure of what to say next. Some tried to explain their actions, brushing it off as a necessary decision, but no one seemed convinced. In the corner, a few of the older members, those who had known Buffett for years, exchanged glances. They were clearly uncomfortable with what had just unfolded. A few of the newer members, however, felt emboldened by the situation. They whispered among themselves, discussing how Buffett's influence had begun to fade, how he wasn't as relevant as he once was. One of them even joked about how the Oracle of Omaha wasn't so wise after all. But those around him quickly shushed him, sensing that such comments might cross a line. Others, who had always admired Buffett, were confused. How could this happen? Some even rushed to defend him. "Buffett's been a part of this place for decades," one member said. "What happened was just a misunderstanding." But even as they spoke, their words felt hollow. There was no easy explanation for why the most respected member of the club had been kicked out. As the night wore on, rumors began to spread like wildfire. Some people claimed Buffett had lost his touch in the market, while others suggested it was a personal matter, a clash of egos. Regardless of the truth, the divide among the club's members grew. There were those who stood by Buffett and questioned the club's decision, and those who, for some reason, felt justified in what had happened. The once united group had split into two factions, and the tension was palpable. It didn't take long for the news of Warren Buffett's removal from the VIP club to break into the public eye. The whispers among club members quickly found their way to the media, and soon, reporters were all over the story. The once private event had now become headline news. The public was stunned. How could Warren Buffett, the legendary investor and philanthropist, have been kicked out of a place like this? The media coverage was intense. Some outlets took a more sympathetic approach, framing the story as a simple misunderstanding, a clash of personalities among powerful people. They emphasized Buffett's decades-long career and suggested that the situation had been blown out of proportion. Even the most respected figures faced challenges. One headline read, "It was clear that these outlets wanted to downplay the incident, perhaps because they still viewed Buffett as an untouchable icon in the world of business." Other outlets, however, were quick to exploit the scandal. They saw this as an opportunity to question Buffett's relevance in today's world. "Is Warren Buffett losing his touch?" one headline boldly asked. These stories focused on the argument within the club, portraying Buffett as out of step with the new generation of investors. They painted him as an outdated figure, someone who no longer commanded the respect he once did. Some even speculated about deeper, darker reasons for his removal, questioning whether there was something more personal behind it all. Public opinion was divided. Some people supported Buffett, saying that he'd been treated unfairly. Others, influenced by the media's more critical take, began to question whether he was still the financial genius everyone thought he was. The incident, which started as a private matter, had turned into a media frenzy. And as the story spread, the pressure on Buffett was only beginning to mount. The days following the incident were filled with uncertainty and tension. Warren Buffett didn't speak much about the event, choosing instead to stay quiet while the world around him buzzed with speculation. He didn't try to explain himself or offer an apology. His decision to remain silent only added fuel to the fire. People wondered, was he too proud to acknowledge what had happened, or was he simply too stunned to respond? Inside the VIP club, things weren't much better. The fallout from Buffett's removal was palpable. Some members were uncomfortable, feeling that the situation had gotten out of hand. They began to question the club's decision, wondering if it had been made in haste. The senior members who had been involved in the argument with Buffett were particularly on edge. They had expected their actions to be seen as justified, but now they were facing criticism. Some began to distance themselves from the whole affair, trying to move on as if nothing had happened. On the other hand, there were those who stood by the club's decision. They believed that the removal of Buffett was necessary, even if it had been handled poorly. They argued that the club needed to evolve, to make room for fresh perspectives and new voices. To them, Buffett's removal was symbolic of a changing era in business, a move toward modernity that needed to happen. As for Buffett, the media continued to hound him, but he remained largely unaffected by the noise. His focus shifted back to his work, continuing his role at Berkshire Hathaway and making investment decisions as he always had. However, the public's perception of him had shifted. Some admired his ability to move forward despite the controversy, while others began to question whether the old-school way of thinking that Buffett represented still had a place in today's fast-moving world. Despite the upheaval, there was no immediate change in Buffett's professional life. His companies continued to perform well, and his loyal followers remained supportive. But the incident had clearly left a mark. For the first time in years, Buffett's reputation was being questioned, not by the market but by the very people who had once idolized him. Warren Buffett's response to being kicked out of the VIP club was, as expected, quiet and measured. Instead of issuing a public statement or engaging in any kind of drama, he simply carried on with his life and work. He didn't try to fight back against the media or explain what had happened at the club. To many, this silence seemed like a sign of maturity, a way of showing that he wasn't bothered by the incident. But as time passed, it became clear that Buffett wasn't just ignoring the situation, he was using it to reflect on what had transpired. While the public was still buzzing with rumors, Buffett turned his attention to something unexpected. Mentorship. He began reaching out to younger investors, offering them guidance and sharing his wealth of knowledge about the market. His actions surprised many. Instead of retreating from the spotlight or allowing the controversy to drag him down, he was quietly investing in the future, his own way of rebuilding his reputation. The media, still hungry for more stories about Buffett, caught wind of these efforts. Headlines soon changed from questions about his relevance to praise for his continued commitment to teaching the next generation of investors. Warren Buffett's next big move, investing in tomorrow's leaders, one article read. The unexpected twist was that, instead of fading into the background, Buffett was making himself more present in a different way, by focusing on the younger generation and imparting his wisdom to them. It was a clever move that not only shielded him from the fallout, but also created a new narrative around his legacy. His relationship with the VIP club, however, was never fully repaired. Some members privately regretted the decision to remove him, but none openly reversed their stance. The club's management, however, quietly acknowledged that the incident had stirred more attention than they'd anticipated. They soon realized that the very act of kicking Buffett out had inadvertently reinforced his position as a respected figure in the world of finance. Buffett had, in a way, turned the situation around. He might have been kicked out of a club, but in the process, he had found a new purpose, shaping the future, not clinging to the past. And in doing so, he proved that no setback, no matter how public, could diminish his influence. The aftermath of Warren Buffett's removal from the VIP club played out in ways no one could have predicted. Despite the public drama and media frenzy, Buffett's response to the incident became a masterclass in resilience. While some might have expected him to fade into obscurity, he did the opposite. He took control of his narrative and shifted the focus back to what truly mattered: his work, his legacy, and his commitment to the future. Buffett's decision to embrace mentorship after the incident was a game-changer. Instead of retreating from the spotlight, he used his knowledge and experience to invest in the next generation of investors. This wasn't just about business, it was about giving back to the community that had supported him throughout his career. His quiet efforts to mentor young talent soon made headlines. Instead of being seen as a figure of the past, he was now viewed as someone shaping the future of finance. His humility and focus on long-term value over short-term drama won him back the admiration of many. The media, at first critical, eventually began to shift its narrative. As they observed Buffett's quiet resurgence, many outlets began to reframe their stories, focusing less on his removal from the club and more on his continued influence. Warren Buffett's legacy lives on became a headline in several prominent publications, showcasing how even in the face of controversy, Buffett had managed to reinvent himself. It was clear, Warren Buffett was still a force to be reckoned with, and the VIP club's decision had only underscored his stature in the business world. For the VIP club, the outcome wasn't as straightforward. While some members privately regretted their role in the incident, the club's reputation had been shaken. What had once been an exclusive, unassailable institution was now seen as a place that had turned its back on one of the most successful investors of all time. Some members began to question whether the club's values were still aligned with what they had originally stood for. Was it about wealth and influence, or was it about respect for those who had earned it? The incident didn't lead to immediate changes within the club, but it had lasting effects. The once tight-knit group of influential individuals had been fractured. Some members became more private, while others distanced themselves from the drama entirely. The VIP club, as powerful and exclusive as it was, couldn't shake the shadow of its decision to expel Buffett. And in the end, it was clear that while the club's doors were still open to the elite, the respect for its membership had been tainted. Warren Buffett, on the other hand, emerged from the incident stronger, with an even greater legacy. He had been kicked out of a VIP club, but instead of retreating, he had propelled himself into the next chapter of his life. In doing so, he showed the world that the true measure of a person isn't defined by where they're allowed to go, but by what they do with the opportunities they create. What was once an unbelievable moment of downfall had in the end become a story of reinvention and triumph.